Fellas, welcome back to Today in Combat. I'm Bradley Gleason. We got another big fight for you. Cory Sandhagen versus Deiveson Figueiredon. The bantamweight division is going to be in the spotlight for the next couple months. Obviously, this is a massive fight going down in Des Moines, Iowa. But then just 2 months later, January, February, March, April, May, June. 2 months later, Sandhagen O'Malley is facing off versus Merab Dvalishvili for the second time. Presumably, we're going to get Figueiredon and Umar Nurmagomedov, although that is not announced. At least I don't believe. But a lot of big things going on in the bantamweight division. We also have Nickal making his return after what some would call a lackluster performance against Paul Craig. 2025 has been the year where the O's disappear. Carlos Prates just losing his O last week to Ian Gary. I guess he didn't have an O. He lost the Fighting Nerds O, but he didn't have an O. Correction, Peyton Talbot, Umar Nurmagomedov, Tatiana Suarez. Some big names have lost their O's, and Nickal is putting his on the line against Rainier Day Ritter, a former one champion fighter who's made a little bit of a splash in the UFC since joining, with a big win over Gerald Meerschaert as well as Kevin Holland back at 310 pretty fast. We're going to talk about all this and more on Today in Combat, but of course, you know where we got to start. It's the main event, Deiveson Figueiredon versus Cory Sandhagen. I fucking love this fight. I love and I hate this fight. Let me backtrack a little bit, because I was rather critical of both of the main event and co-main event upon announcement. My criticism on the main event was, what are they fighting for? What does Deiveson Figueiredon and Cory Sandhagen get out of this fight? And I'm still not sure, but I feel like there is a little something to it. I feel like I've crossed that bridge a little bit. I feel like this is a put up or shut up type of fight in the bantamweight division. There's a real opportunity. This could be absolutely a number one contender fight right here. 100%. If one of these guys makes a statement, they could jump over the Umar and Figueiredon fight for one main reason. Neither of them have fought the champion. Whether it's Sandhagen O'Malley or Merab Dvalishvili, neither of these guys have fought the champion. Where Umar, of course, we just saw him versus Merab. We've seen Merab versus Piotr. We've seen Sandhagen O'Malley versus Piotr. So no matter which way it goes, both of these guys are fresh matchups for the champion, which I think gives them a little bit of a leg up. I think if Sandhagen O'Malley wins back the belt, the Figueiredon fight is right there. I think they're going to make that. But if Merab retains, pretty hard pressed to go straight back to Umar and or go back to Figueiredon, even if he is on like a 3-strike fight win streak, just because it was such a blowout the first time. So I think a big win by either Deiveson Figueiredon or Cory Sandhagen here could jump them in the line, put them right in the title shot. But a loss, on the other hand, you are far, far away, my friend. You are far, far away, because that means both of these guys are on a loss in their last fight. Cory Sandhagen lost to Umar Nurmagomedov. Deiveson Figueiredon lost to Figueiredon. So it puts them very far away from the belt. That's why I think it's a true put up or shut up type of fight. You could either get yourself a title shot, or you can kiss a title shot pretty damn well goodbye. Deiveson Figueiredon being 37 years old, hard to come back to the belt after losing 2 straight. Cory Sandhagen, he had a shot-ish before. He had an interim fight against Figueiredon, which is a very good fight. But 2 losses in a row. If you lose to Deiveson Figueiredon, you got a loss to Figueiredon, you got a loss to Umar Nurmagomedov. Hard to get back into that title picture. But that being said, this is still a very fucking good fight in a very high-level fight. As good as you can make in the bantamweight division. Like Deiveson Figueiredon, since entering this division, has, before running into Figueiredon, ran through guys like Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt, Marlon Chito Vera, and it didn't look like he was out of place. That was kind of the big worry for Deiveson when he walked in. Former 125 champion. Is he going to be too small? Will that power carry over? The answer is yes and yes. I mean, this is a guy that dropped Cheeto Vera. Although it was a flash knockdown, it wasn't like anything big. Dropped Cheeto Vera. Put Petr Yan on the back heels a couple of times. A bad motherfucker, this guy, Deiveson Figueiredo, coming up to 135. It seems the powers came with him. And he's also leaned a little bit more in the wrestling than he did at 125. He was a little bit of a power bully down there. He's so big for the weight division. He's really leaned a lot more on the wrestling here since entering the 135-pound division. Got Petr Yan down a couple times. Had some success with Marlo Cheeto Vera early in the fight and late in the fight. Submitted Cody Garbrandt. You know, seems to have really settled in to 135 and it is a problem. But Cory Sandhagen, I'll be honest with you. I've said this before. Call me a casual, say whatever you want. I didn't really lock in, and I'm talking lock into the UFC until COVID. Cory Sandhagen was my first guy. My first guy. This man was the king of COVID. I mean, you look back at what he was doing in kind of early 2020, 2021. He was spinning wheel kick against Marlon Morales. Flying knee against Frankie Edgar. Had a fucking masterful. I still think he won this fight against TJ Dillashaw. A fucking war. And then when things finally started opening up in Abu Dhabi, takes on Petr Yan for the interim championship belt after Petr had lost to Aljamain the first time. This was the in-between fight because Aljamain was getting neck surgery, if you remember that. They had an in-between fight with Petr Yan, and it was a fucking banger, still. So to say I'm a little bit biased in this fight, I'll be honest with you. I think Cory Sandhagen gets it done, and to be fair, Vegas does too. He's a pretty heavy favorite. I mean, you're looking at Cory Sandhagen at, I don't know, I wish I had it for you right here, but it's something like minus 500, minus 600, somewhere in that range. All that just to be said, Cory Sandhagen was my guy. My first fella. And actually, no, it wasn't my first UFC fight. I saw Cory Sandhagen live against Marlon Cheeto Vera in San Antonio, close to where I am here in Austin, Texas. I went down for that one. So I also got to see him live, which was fantastic as well. A fucking big Cory Sandhagen fan. And I think he's a bad motherfucker, which leads me to believe, with all my biases included, that Deiveson Figueiredo is in for a tough night. The things that Cory does well, first of all, movement's really strong. He's shown a big improvement. I think since that TJ Dillashaw loss, where he lost that split decision, he really doubled down on wrestling a little bit more than he did before. You saw it in the Song Yadong fight. We saw it in the Cheeto Vera fight. We saw it in the Rob Font fight. Obviously, the Rob Font fight was a little bit different because he tore his tricep in that fight. But also put a pretty solid defensive grappling performance on against Umar Nurmagomedov. A close fight, although the judges' scorecards weren't that close, 49-46. It wasn't like Umar really controlled him on the ground. Hardly ever. I don't think he had much control time outside of the fifth round. So I think it's going to stifle what Deiveson wants to do. He's not super high on volume like Cory Sandhagen, which makes me feel like he's going to get behind a little bit in the rounds just off of pure, volume kind of points round over round. And if you can't take Cory down and hold him there, I think he's going to be in trouble. We also have a pretty big height discrepancy here. Deiveson, since entering the bantamweight division, hasn't really fought anybody too big. Cory Sandhagen being 5'11", Deiveson Figueiredo just, I think he's 5'5". He fought Cody Garbrandt, not a big guy. Petr Yan, not a big guy. Rob Font's not huge, not small. I want to say he's like 5'9". And then Cheeto's probably 5'10" as well. So it's more of the movement of Cory Sandhagen. Yeah, Deiveson Figueiredo's 5'5". Let's see how tall is Marlon Cheeto Vera? 5'8". Yeah, he's not even that big. 5'8" Cheeto Vera. Rob Font's the other one that I was kind of second guessing when I said it. Let's see how tall Rob Font is real quick. Rob Font is standing at a beautiful 5'8". So big height discrepancy here. We're talking about 6 inches. This is like It's like a Jalen Turner type of height discrepancy at a smaller weight class. 6 fucking inches. So big height discrepancy here, which is, I think, going to allow Cory to kind of pitter-patter on the outside, use his movement, snipe him with a couple jabs here and there, use his kicks. One thing that I saw in the Petr Yan fight is Deiveson's clean for a knee. Petr landed some really, really nice knees, landed some really nice uppercuts too. It's not like Deiveson's not there to be hit, but Cory does have to worry about the power coming back to him. Like I said, Deiveson's power seems to have came with him. Dropped Chito Vera, although briefly, still did it, and then had some really good success against Petr Yan. A fantastic fight against Petr Yan. Another fight where the scorecard doesn't tell the story. I think he got 50-45 on majority scorecards there. But I think the height discrepancy is going to be a really big problem. Deiveson, of course, a 125-pound champ, really hasn't fought anybody with this sort of length, especially at the level that Cory Sandhagen is. One thing I'd love to see out of Cory that we haven't seen since probably the Chito fight is elbows. I mean, you look back at like the TJ Dillashaw fight, the Song Yadong fight, he was using elbows beautifully, cutting them open. I mean, really doing a lot of damage on the face of both TJ and actually stopped Song Yadong with the cut. So I'd love to see him kind of step in with some elbows. That's something he didn't really do against Umar Nurmagomedov. And try to do that damage again, because that's one thing we were missing in that Umar fight was damage. He didn't, he doesn't have the most power. Of course, we've seen him with wheel kicks, knees, things like that, put people out, but just pure hands. Let me look down. Hasn't knocked anybody out with punches since 2018. So I'd like to see him really kind of sit down on some things, use those elbows to do damage in close. And then, like I said, Petr Yan had some really nice success, especially as the fight went long with knees and uppercuts. So I'd like to see that out of Cory Sandhagen. But again, you got to watch out for that power coming back from you from Deiveson Figueiredo, because it's no joke. It's no joke. I just don't know if the ability to keep Cory down is going to be an option for Deiveson, especially with the reach advantage and the distance that he's going to be able to fight at. But who knows? Who knows? It's a very competitive matchup. I mean, minus 600 is, I think, pretty wide. I, again, favor Cory Sandhagen. He's my fucking guy, my original guy. So I love him, but think he gets it done here. And again, there's a real opportunity. This is a #1 contender fight. Neither of these guys have fought for the belt. Or not only have they not fought for the belt, but they haven't fought either of the guys that are going to be fighting for the belt. So a massive, massive opportunity for both these guys, and the loser is kind of shit out of luck. Following that, we got Bo Nickal, Rainier Day Ritter. Another one that I was critical off the jump. I was critical off the jump because, my original statement was this is basically Paul Craig 2. Rainier Day Ritter is Paul Craig 2. It's a very similar matchup when you just look at it. And I got a little bit of criticism for that. People obviously riding with Rainier Day Ritter a little bit. I mean, he had a fantastic performance against Kevin Holland, saying that there's levels to it and he's a higher level than Paul Craig. I'm not so sure, to be honest with you. And I'm going to look real fucking stupid on the back end if he walks through Bo Nickal somehow. But I still do believe it's Paul Craig too. I think Rainier's a little bit more aggressive. I think he's going to probably take a couple more shots. But to be honest with you, lumbering on the feet, he's kind of slow. He does have some crack. He does have some power, but it's not fast. But he doesn't really take great shots. Good timing, but not a lot of prep. He's slow. It's like he's got bricks in his hand, type of slow, and feet. Like when he was taking down Gerald Meerschaert and even Kevin Holland, it's like, it feels like you're watching in slow motion. There's not a ton of drive, and Bo Nickal is a much better wrestler than either of those guys. So I think he's going to be hard pressed to actually get a takedown. If that's what you think's going to happen, If there's a takedown, it's probably going to be from Bo Nickal's side. Maybe Rainier can scramble and get on top and find some success that way. But I don't see him taking it down, taking Bo down. And then along that same Paul Craig line, just to hammer down my point a little bit more, Paul Craig, 6'4". Rainier De Ridder, 6'4". Paul Craig, 13 submissions. Rainier De Ridder, 13 submissions. Paul Craig, 4 knockouts. Rainier De Ridder, 4 knockouts. Same fucking fighter. Come on. Give it to me. I was so happy. You know, I had said that previously, but I you know, coming into this fight week, I don't know, trying to reiterate that point, and I was so fucking pumped when I looked at their actual stats and those ones lined up. So take that for what you may. I'm jacked about it. I feel good about myself for making that statement, and I do believe it. I think this fight plays out on the feet. Love it or hate it for Bo Nickal. I think it's up to him. It's up to him where he wants to take it, and I think he's more than capable of outstriking Rainier De Ridder. He's very hittable. Like I said, he's slow. He's got some crack, but he's slow. He's not very technical. He's got some interesting kicks. He's got hard hands. But Bo Nickal is, I think, constantly improving, and I think he would have learned a lot from that Paul Craig fight. And to be fair, I think a lot of the criticism on the Paul Craig fight is unwarranted, to be completely honest with you. Was it the most exciting fight? No. But was it a bad fight? The answer is also no. Bo made one giant mistake in that fight, and it was this.
Yeah, but the thing is, the real problem is the triangle, the arm bar. Yes.
The standstill. The standstill got him. The crowd was on his side until he did that 10 seconds later.
They're chanting overrated now.
Boos raining from MSG. That was the mistake of Bo Nickal. It wasn't because the fight was bad. It's because he started playing games and he wasn't necessarily putting on an action-packed fight. You're only allowed to play games like that when the action is packed, brother. And Bo Nickal was in a technical battle with Paul Craig, in which, of course, everybody wants to see how it plays out on the ground. But he did the smart thing and just outstruck him, 30-27'd him. It wasn't like it was a close fight with Paul Craig. I think Bo Nickal does the same thing to Rainier De Ridder. I think he can outstrike him. If he wants to take him down, things get a little bit more interesting. Rainier is a fantastic jiu-jitsu practitioner, but that's about it. I think he's ugly on the feet. I think he's slow. I think Bo hits harder, is faster, and Rainier won't be able to take him down. That's my take. If I'm wrong, come back, roast the fuck out of me. But I'm going to put it on the table right now. Rainier De Ridder has a 0% chance of winning this fight. 0. Unless Bo fucks up. And you can't put an unless after that statement. So right after I said it, I started second guessing it. He could choke him out. It's not a 0% chance, but I don't really see a great path to victory for Rainier here outside of a... No, I'm going to double down. Rainier De Ridder has no shot of winning this fight. If you're riding Rainier, I feel sorry for you. Come back and roast me if I'm wrong, but that's what I believe. And that's where I'm at on it. So, S my D, brother. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But it should be a fun fight regardless. I still think these matchups are a little funky. Des Moines, Iowa is a funky place, so it kind of just meshes in. There is a couple other fun fights on this card. Nothing too crazy. But we got the return of Jeremy Stephens back into his hometown of, I don't know if he's actually from Des Moines or just from Iowa in general. But Jeremy Stephens back on the card, back in the UFC after coming off of a massive stoppage of Eddie Alvarez in BKFC. A pretty fun fight where he really kind of put on a show. Was in Philly, the belly of the beast, played the fucking heel perfectly, had all that Philly does surrounding him. People motherfucking him all week, and then he went out and put on a show against Eddie Alvarez, really kind of dominated him bell to bell. He's now back into the UFC. Iowa, hometown, feeling good. So we're looking forward to that one. And this is our UFC Des Moines quick hits section. I'm going to do this section a little bit differently than I have in the past. You know, previously I was just kind of walking through some other fights on the card that I kind of liked. I'm gonna give quick hits the literal meaning. Let's find you some betting lines that I think are worth it. That I think, you know, I'm not saying bet them. I'm saying some good money here. And it starts with Jeremy Stephens. Who the fuck is that guy? That guy is plus 425 against a guy that was cut from the UFC, has not fought in the UFC since 2022. Had some success back in Cage Warriors, 4 wins in a row. He's a younger fighter, just 30 years old compared to the old grizzled vet that is Jeremy Stephens in Mason Jones here. But let's ride the Iowa boy. Let's have some fucking fun. Plus 425, you got a guy that's all fucking action like Jeremy Stephens. And it's not like he got matched up with, I mean, you look down the list of killers that Jeremy Stephens fought before leaving the UFC. I mean, his last 6 fights, Mateusz Gamrot, Calvin Kattar, Yair Rodriguez, twice. One was a no contest. Fucking fought Zabit, Jose Aldo. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. His last 5 fights in the UFC. Granted, he lost all of them. He lost every single one of them. But it's not like he was fighting bums. He's still he's a bad motherfucker. That being said, he was kind of so-so. Clay Collard, PFL loss. Nat and Schultz, I don't know who either of those fuckers are, but lost in the PFL as well. It's not about wins and losses here. It's not about their prior success. It's about right here, right now. Jeremy Stephens, Iowa, hometown, home crowd, and a motherfucker to deal with. So plus 425, I like it on Jeremy Stephens. When we're looking at the main event, of course I like Cory Sandhagen. I told you that. I like Bo Nickal. Both these guys are favorites, so a little hard pressed to find some good money on them. Cory Sandhagen, minus 150 by decision. I like that. Deiveson's a tough motherfucker, hard to put out, hasn't been put out since entering the 135 division, hasn't really even been cracked. Chin looks good, just in his career in general. Doesn't really get knocked out. I don't even know if he's ever been knocked out. 24-4, he lost by doctor stoppage, and he's got KO'd 1 time. Let's find it. Oh, yeah, it was a doctor stoppage. Doesn't count. Doesn't count. Hadn't been KO'd. And I don't think Cory's going to sub him. Too fucking technical on the ground. Too good. So I like Cory Sandhagen by decision. We got that at minus 150. Just looking for anything we can get some numbers on there. Bo Nickal. Like I said, I'm all in on Bo here. I don't think Rainier Day Ritter is all that big of a step up from Paul Craig. I think they're about the same level. And I actually think he's got a better chance. I think he's going to be better equipped this time to put on that stand-up show than he was last time. So I got him KO, TKO. The way I see this going is Rainier puts a bad shot. Bo Nickal flips him over, gets top pressure, rains down with some heavy shots. Rainier quits. Not quits, but, curls up. That's how I see this going. You get plus 140 on Bo there. You get plus 140. Of course, if you like Rainier, take him. He's the underdog. But me personally, you heard my feelings. I also see Marina Rodriguez plus 240 against Jillian Robertson. That's a tough fight. That's a tough fight, and those are some pretty heavy odds for a lady that's been kind of at the top of this division. You look at Marina Rodriguez, and I'm also just a Marina fan, so maybe this is me just being biased, but she's fought kind of the best of the best in this division, and that's where her losses are coming from. She has been exposed a little bit on the ground, which is where Jillian wants to go. So maybe that's how it ends up. But I mean, you look at like Amanda Lemos, Virna Jandiroba, Jessica Andrade, Asmin Lucindo. Those are her losses. But she has wins over Mackenzie Dern, Yan Xiaonan. She's got some good fucking wins. Tisha Pennington, Natalia Silva back in the day. Natalia Silva's getting ready to fight Alexa Grasso here. And Jillian Rodriguez, I like Jillian Robertson. She just hasn't, this is by far her biggest step up. Like you heard the names that I just listed off for Marina Rodriguez, although there was a lot of losses in there. It's the top echelon of that division. Jillian Robertson is just kind of making her way into that top side of the division. Big win over Polyana Viana, who, Not the best, but hot. Beat the karate hottie Michelle Watterson, and then also picked up a big win against Luna Pinheiro. Just hasn't had that kind of top level competition. And when she has, it hasn't really gone her way. Like Mayra Buena Silva, she lost that one. Macy Barber lost that one. Tyler Santos, Miranda Maverick, Tabitha Ritchie. You know, she's not unbeatable, and I just think Marina Rodriguez is too good. So at plus 240, I like that. What else did I have? I think there was one more. No, that's really it. That's really it. I think that's some good value. You get Cory Sandhagen minus 150, Bo Nickal plus 140, KO TKO, Marina Rodriguez, Jeremy Stevens money line. Let's have some fucking fun with that, huh? Let's have some fun with that. Let's talk about some fight announcements because we got some big ones. Starting off with Dustin Poirier in the belly of the beast. New Orleans, Louisiana. The man, the myth, the legend, his retirement fight. He's getting a legend. Legends only. Max Holloway. And I just love the fact that the UFC is doing this for Dustin Poirier because he's such a fucking staple of the UFC. He is the definition of a UFC fighter. When you think about him, you close your eyes and you go, let me picture a UFC fighter. Dustin Poirier should be at the top of that list. Just a bad motherfucker, been in the business for a long time, and to get his final go as close to home as he could, it's going to be a special moment. It's going to be really, really special walking into that arena. Says he's going to walk out to Lil Wayne. I'd fucking love that. Drop the World. Probably one of the first songs that I ever memorized start to finish. You know, I'm talking sixth grade. I'm at the public library on LimeWire downloading Lil Wayne, fucking Dr. Carter, you know? I fucking love me some Wayne. I love New Orleans, a fantastic town. I got shit knocked, as everybody does, with the fellas in New Orleans. But I just think it's going to be a really special moment for Dustin Poirier. Can he win the fight? He's 2-0 against Max Holloway, but Max Holloway's a motherfucker, coming off a KO or not. He is a motherfucker right now. Obviously has a little bit more life left in him. When they fought originally, he was pretty young. So win or lose, doesn't really matter. He's going to go out on his shield. It's going to be a fantastic fight, and I'm really excited for that. We also got Kamaru Usman and Joaquin Buckley announced. That's a good fight, and I think that's what I called when I was laying out the welterweight matchmaking. I think that's what I called. Could be wrong. I'd have to go back and look, but I think it's the right matchup. Kamaru Usman has been kind of AFK since the Hamzat fight, which wasn't even in the 170-pound division. So, first of all, good to see him back. Also, I think that the rankings needed moved somehow, whether he stays there or not. It needed some sort of clarification on, is he even still fighting in this fucking division? So Kamaru Usman right now is sitting at what? He's sitting at 4. And his last fight was in Abu Dhabi against Hamzat in 2023. So it's been 2 years. Dang near. So we needed some clarification here. If he still got it, if he puts one back on Joaquin Buckley, which would be a surprise. I'm sure he's the betting underdog here. The title picture just gets more muddy because it's already muddy as could be. Sean Brady calling for a title shot. Shavkat calling for a title shot. Ian Gary, the backup fighter, coming up here next week when we get Bilal Muhammad, Jack Della Maddalena. He's calling for a title shot, and whoever wins this fight, Joaquin or Kamaru, undoubtedly going to call for a title shot. Welterweight division is on fire right now. That's going to be a really good fight. Where's that going down? It's going down in Atlanta, which is another thing. Feels like the UFC's finding their way back onto the road. We're not getting nearly the level of Apex cards that we were. So good to see that. Obviously, we're in fucking Des Moines, Iowa this week, so you know they're going everywhere. If you end up in Des Moines, you're going anywhere and everywhere. But that's a good fight, and we need that. We need that because that 4 spot felt like could have been adjusted earlier, you know, with the inactivity of Kamaru Usman. So we need this clarification here. Not that it really adds much. Leon Edwards is still at 3, huh? We'll have to see what Meta does. Okay, welterweight rankings right now. Sean Brady 1. I agree with that. Shavkat 2. I agree with that. Leon 3. Kamaru 4. Jack 5. Ian 6. Joaquin 7. So the only thing that changed since the Gary Protest fight is that Ian jumped ahead of Joaquin. Carlos Prates still sitting at 13, didn't move at all. It's that Leon Camaro. It's kind of the old guard still hanging on to the top of that division, which I think is kind of funky. I think you can make a real case that it should be, instead of Leon Camaro, it should be Ian Joaquin, or even put Jack up there. Although Jack hasn't had he's getting ready to fight for a title, but he hasn't fought in a hot minute. Last fight was against Gilbert Burns, 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. So just with activity's sake, Joaquin knocking out Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, doctor stoppage against Colby Covington in a fight where he was dominating. And then, of course, Ian Machado Gary going round for round with Shavkat, who's number 2 ranked in the division, and then beating Carlos Prates. Just from an activity standpoint, and how bad Leon got beat in both the Sean Brady fight and Bilal fight, I think you can make a case that those should be moved around, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to get some movement in this welterweight division, and then, like I said, could be anybody's title shot after this fight gets done. Could be absolutely anybody's title shot, including Islam Makhachev. So that's all I got for you today. That was Today in Combat. It's going to be a really fun fight card this weekend. We're going to get some answers in the bantamweight division with Cory Sandhagen, Deiveson, Figueiredon. Always fun to see the progression of Bo Nickal fighting Rainier de Ritter, a guy that's came in hot to the UFC. Had a great performance against Kevin Holland. Had a fun performance against Gerald Meerschaert. We'll see how it plays out. But, you know my picks. I'm also, this is one of the ones where I'm more biased than usual. I love Cory Sandhagen, and I'm a fan of Bo Nickal. So, peace, love. Till next time, I'm out.